everyone. Today we're going to go through setting up your new rotary from YoraHome, and we're going to be setting it up with the YoraHome CO2 laser machines. You could have the 100 watt, 60 watt, or the 40 watt. The setup is pretty much the same through all of them. The controller is the same, other than just the size of it and how to adjust your tumbler. Pretty much everything is the same. So I'm going to be showing you on the 50, 30, the 40 watt, but everything will be exactly the same on your 60 watt or 100 watt, other than level on your Z-axis. That will be the only thing that's different. So what you have here is you have your rotary. You've got your front drive wheels and you've got your rear wheels. Then you have your adjuster here, which loosens this and allows you to move forward, backward, for depending on what kind of tumbler you have. If you have a glass, it allows you to move forward and backward to, so it sits evenly. And then where you get it where you want, you just snug it down. Don't need to tighten it hard, you just gotta snug it. This one here loosens up your Z-axis, allows you to raise your height. Loosening it lowers the rear wheels, and raising it up, or tightening it in, raises them up. And what you're looking, the purpose of that is dependent on your tumbler, like you may have this, or you may have this, or even the glass cup, is you want this to be level. So I have a little handy dandy little bubble leveler here, and I just lower it, raise it until it's right, and then you snug this back down, and then that's pretty much where your cup is going to be. You want it level because your laser is going to go obviously over it, and you want it to stay the same, the correct height, the burn height across the entire thing. So basically you're going to need, well, you have the rotary, you're going to need your CO2 set up, ready to go, and then a spare tumbler. I would get a scrap tumbler. I would just buy one that you're going to, if you buy a couple, and put some tape on it. What we're going to do is we're going to put some marks on here. We're going to get it pretty close, and then we're going to burn a line, dial it in, and then once we get it dialed in, then we're going to go ahead and burn a tumbler with it. So like I said, you could burn all kind of stuff. You can do glass, you can do stainless, you can do these tumblers, the wine. Again, it's a matter of just adjusting this till it sits just the way you want it. So going forward, what you need is, if you have the 100 watt, like I said, the 80 watt or the 40 watt, they all have the same controller, which is the Rueda controller, and it needs to have a certain firmware on it. And so what I'm going to do is, I already did a previous video on how to check your machine and if you need to upgrade your machine to the correct firmware. So I'm going to go ahead and splice that in, and then when that's done, I'm going to come back and we're going to put this in the machine and then just go ahead and get started setting it up. So in the video next, in the description, there is 2 links to the 2 different files that you're going to need if you need them, and should be pretty explanatory to get it set up. And if you already have it, the correct firmware, then you can just skip that and come right back, and we will see you after the video.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we need to mark one of these rollers. Both of these rollers are driven by a center gear here, and there's a belt going to the 2. So just pick one of them. I prefer this one here, and we're going to put a mark on the rubber O-ring. That's going to represent our 0 position. Now what you're also going to want to do is come straight across and put a mark here. So what I normally do is I'll get like a stick. Okay, as you can see, what I did was I got a stick here, and I'm using the edge of it as my line, and then I have some markings on my wheel here, and those markings line right up with the edge. And what we're looking to do is we're going to make one complete circle, and we're going to do that. We're going to set the settings in LightBurn to make one complete circle, and then once we get it pretty close, then we're going to put a tumbler on here and dial it in a little bit better. So let's go ahead and switch over to LightBurn, and we'll get this straight. Okay, so in LightBurn, what we're going to do is, depending on the version you have, what we're looking for is rotary setup. I'm currently using version 1.2.01, and mine is up in Laser Tools and Rotary Setup. I think prior to that it was under Edit or Tools and then Rotary Setup. And so what you're going to want to do is, when this comes up, I'm going to go ahead and move this over so you can see it here. Let me move this down a little bit. And we don't have a chuck style. This is it's more like a lathe. We have a roller, and we're going to want to enable rotary. and it's on the y-axis. And what we're going to determine is the steps per rotation and the roller diameter. They're the two main parts. The roller diameter is easy. We're just going to measure that in a minute. But the steps per rotation is the number. That's the key number that we want to find. The object diameter and circumference is pretty much just a calculator for us, which is okay. It's going to help us dial in even tighter. So the first thing we need to do is measure one of the rollers on the rotary, and I'll show you which one. Probably the one to measure would be one of these two up front here. These are your drive wheels right here. So you're going to want to measure one of these, and I'm going to measure this one here. So I would recommend using your caliper to get it in here. Make sure you're pretty close. It's going to be in inches too, by the way. You could change it to millimeter if yours is set in millimeters. I've got, what do I got? I've got 2.667. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to roller diameter, and I'm going to change it to 2.6678 actually, to be precise. Hit tab. And then what we're going to do is for the steps per rotation, I mean, if you have something similar to what I have, I would recommend starting at like 4,000, maybe 5,000. You could even start at 6,000. I could tell you my number is around 5,900. So I would say let's just do this. Let's just start at 6,000. Let's do that. So we'll hit 6,000 and click tab. So now what we're going to do is make sure that we have your machine is set up. It should have been homed. It doesn't really matter where your laser is at because it's not going to do anything. We're just going to look at the wheel that is rolling here. So what we're going to do now is click test. And you're going to watch your wheel here, and you're going to want it to come all the way around and line up exactly perfect on here again. Now, it might not be as easy for you to see, but you'll have an idea when I'm running, when you're running yours, or where that white mark is, and that's pretty darn close, actually. And this, you want this to be pretty close, but once we put the tumbler on, you're going to notice that it's actually going to be a little bit different. So, actually, that's pretty much dead on right there, I have to say. I'm going to run it one more time. Take your time doing this. If you have to do it a couple of different times, that's fine. Click test again. Make sure you watch where that stops at. And this is going to get us really close. I'm actually satisfied with that. That's actually pretty perfect. Now yours may be the same thing. It may be a little bit different. Try it. If you find that it goes, if the markings go too far, then your number is too high. If it doesn't go enough, then your number is too low. Depending on how far it is, you might want to jump maybe only like 50 or 100 at a time. Believe me, I've ran through the tests like this probably, I don't know, probably 10 times or so just to try and get it right, which is fine. You know, this is a really important part. So I'm going to leave mine at 6,000 right now. My roller diameter is where I want it, but I'm going to leave it at 6,000. So the next thing we need to do is measure our tumbler. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to measure the tumbler diameter. If you're still working on the wheel part to get this right, then go ahead and pause this and get that pretty close, and then just unpause it when you're ready, and then we'll come back and dial it in even tighter. Once you get it pretty close here, then you could just ignore this at that point. I would leave your stick here just in case you have to come back. But anyway, what we're doing is we're measuring the circumference of the tumbler. It would be better to get one that is completely the same size at the top and bottom. This one is not. Remember, we're going to have tape around our tumbler, and what we're going to do is we're going to measure the diameter of it, which is 3.459. So mine is 3.459, and what we're going to do is in LightBurn, we're going to come here and put object diameter is 3.459 459. I'm going to hit tab, and that tells me my circumference is 10.86677, and that is pretty close. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and just put our tumbler on here, and we're going to get this number 10.8677 and go ahead and write that down. 10.86677, and then we're going to click OK. And now we're going to come here in LightBurn, and we're going to go ahead and draw a square just along like this here. We're going to come up here, make sure it's unlocked, and then we're going to change the width to 0.25, which is fine, 1/4 inch, and then the height is the number, the 10.86677, and hit tab. So that is the circumference of the tumbler. So what it's going to do is we're going to want the laser to burn all the way down that and come back up, and the two ends hopefully are going to meet. So now that you've done that, click on your arrow to the top left, and then go up to, make sure it's still highlighted here, which it should be. Go to Arrange, move Selected Objects to the upper right. So now it put it up here. So what we're going to do is we're pretty much going to come down here and go to Start From Current Position. The job origin is at the top right, and make sure your rotary is enabled still. And the power and speed, so the speed, I would keep it at 40. 40, it kind of makes it go a little slow, which is fine, you know, for testing for sure. And then your minimum power that your laser will fire upon. So in other words, mine is 9. Anything less than 9 and my my CO2 won't fire. So 9 is the minimum for mine. So set yours to whatever your minimum is. Probably pretty close to this, 9 or 10, something like that. So, and then click OK. Okay, now that we have everything set up, we've got our tumbler pretty much where we think it's going to be pretty close here. What we're going to do is we're going to burn that line, or that little square rectangle, all the way around, and we're going to want both lines to meet. So right now, on your controller on the machine, click on speed and make sure you have either 30 or 40. I actually have mine at 30 because we don't want it to spin out of hand. Make sure your machine is switched to 2, and go ahead and do the up and down arrow for the y-axis. And as you can see, my tumbler is spinning. If you don't change it to 30 your speed, it's probably going to spin out of control. But I just want to make sure that it does spin freely. And then what you can do is move your laser head, your gantry, over top of your cup, and then move it where you want it at. Make sure you do your probe to set your z-axis height. Mine is manual, so I have to do mine like this. It's good. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to burn. It's going to go all the way around the cup, and then it's going to come back, and then we're going to look at what it does. So I'm going to go ahead and turn mine all on, and we'll go ahead and get it all burning. Also, I want to note one thing. My lid is open. Your lid probably will not be open. You don't want it open. I only have mine open for demonstration purposes. I would not recommend doing this at home. As you'll see, mine is going to be have some smoke here, but this is dangerous. You want to make sure your lid is closed. I only have mine open because of the camera. And I do have protective glasses on. Make sure it's set. You want to make sure it's set dead center on there. Alright, got my fan on. So coming over to LightBurn, again, let's double check our settings. We want current position, job origin, mine is to the top right here, as you can see. And what we're going to do first is we're just going to click frame, and that's just going to let us know what the laser is going to do before we do it, so we don't waste any time doing it. So let's just click frame and make sure the tumbler turns and comes back to where we want it to. Okay. All right, so I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and run a test. As you can see, my smoke turning my fan up more to pull that smoke. As you can see, my laser is burning that line. Okay, let's give that a second to get the smoke out of here. Okay, so what we're looking for is, I don't know if you could see this here, the burn mark right here. It looks like it went over a little bit. Let me get my marker here. I didn't do a very good tape job, but it looks like it went over a little bit, so it looks like my number is a little bit too much. So I have 6,000, and what we want is we want that to be pretty much just one straight line. So it's pretty close, but I'm going to actually lower mine down just a little bit, and then what we're going to do is put your tumbler back on, run your gantry back over. You can move it with your hand because the motors are not engaged. And then I'm going to move to the left. 1, 2. Actually, I probably can do one. Just one. So now we're going to do another line next to it. But before we do, I am going to change my... Go back to rotary. And let me move this over so you can see. I'm going to change my 6,000 to 59. Let's just say 75. We don't want to move a whole bunch at one time, but so 59.75, click OK, and then we're going to do another test. Let's make sure we have our tumbler lined up. Okay, so now we're going to pretty much do it again. We've got the rotary changed to 59.75, and we're going to just go ahead and run it one more time and see where this line goes. Looks like this one's going to be in a better spot because I did such a bad job taping it. Oh yeah, that's definitely closer. I'm going to let some of that smoke out of there. I'm going to move the gantry. Now, if you look here, you can see this is the previous lines. See the gap there. And this one's the new one now, 59.75. See how much closer it is now? Now, I'm pretty detailed, so I'm definitely going to do a little bit more. I'm at 75. That was a 25 difference. I actually think I'm going to bring it to 65 and run it again and see where that gets me. I'm going to try and get it here because I don't have tape here. So let's do that again. Let's change it and move my gantry in. Move it to the left one. Actually, I may have to move it to the left too. Make sure it's dead over it. And then now I'm going to change my rotary to my steps per rotation to 59.65. See where that gets me. Click OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and run it again. Oops. May have to click stop here. I'm not sure why sometimes it doesn't want to send it, but try that again. There we go. Turn my fan up. Oh man, that's beautiful. Okay, so now you can see this was the first, the second, and now that is really, it's like right on. I'm actually satisfied with that. I mean, if you wanted to go one more notch, whatever, it's not going to be a difference. That almost is exactly dead on. So if you go back to LightBurn, you want to write these numbers down for your rotary. Your steps per rotation would be minus 59.65. If yours did not line up, just like mine just did, then keep going. If it is different, I would say once you start getting close, only start jumping by 10. And then, up or down, however you want it, wherever yours lined up. As you can see, I started at 6,000, worked my way to 59.65. So we're going to write that down, 59.65 steps per rotation. and then the roller diameter is 2.6678. Now that's going to be, that's going to be key for all of your future cups and whatever. Remember, the object diameter and circumference is just a like a calculator for you. So pretty much anything you put on here now, it should burn perfect. So let's go ahead and move forward, and let's get a tumbler on here. Dial yours in when you're done. Come back to this, and we're going to go ahead and burn an image on a tumbler. Okay, so let's go ahead and burn an image onto a tumbler. The first thing you want to do is go ahead and put your tumbler in here. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have a scrap tumbler. This way you have one that you can test on, so that if there's mess ups or whatever. Practice tumbler, probably the one that you had the tape on. And so this one I know is pretty good. What you're going to want to do is do your leveling, make sure that your Z probe is correct height. Sometimes if you don't get a really good burn, it's a little bit better, you can offset it. So I would say a friend of mine, Cheryl, she lifted her Z-axis up just one notch and just a little bit off center, and it gives you a little bit better burn. Mine is very, very minimal. And make sure that it's correct all the way down your tumbler. Actually, that's a little bit more. So I want mine right here. And another thing is, if you know on your tumbler where you want the center of your image to be, there's a couple of different ways you can burn it. So for example, on this one's just all black, but some of them have different emblems on or logos on the other side of it. Let's say you want it right there. What you do is, when you come over here in LightBurn, as you can see, I already have my image that I'm going to burn here, and this one I happen to have 3 different layers, but we're going to change that. We need to make sure that the rotary is on, and that you're going to set your different settings. But your current position, you can actually start it from the center. So you see the green dot here. Oops. That now is in the center, so that's going to be it's actually going to rotate the tumbler and move up over here and then start burning from here to here, rather than if you had it at the top right, it's actually going to burn over here. And if you don't know, the perfect length of this or whatever, then just do it from the center. This way you know right where you want the center of the cup's going to be, right where you want the center of the image, and then the software will do the rest. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get everything set up. Now, one thing I want to mention is, if you're having any type of alignment issues or any problems since our test that we just had, keep in mind with the CO2 controllers, when you enable rotary, it automatically sends these stepper settings to the controller, and it changes it. So your distance that it travels is going to be off on the y-axis. So if you have any problems, turn off your rotary, make sure you turn it off first, and then you can home the machine, or you can power your machine off and power it back on or whatever, and then move your laser over top of your tumbler. Actually, you have to switch your switch back to 1 first, but then move your laser over top of your tumbler where you want it, and then switch your switch back to 2. And then when you switch it back to 2, then you can just move forward from where we are right now. So again, whatever kind of tumbler you have, it's going to depend on your power and speed settings. So I know what mine are for this specific type of tumbler. The Yeti tumblers is even a different setting. There's the Ozark tumblers from Walmart. Those are even a different setting. But these are ones I actually got from Michaels. And I know 175 speed at 30 power, 30 max and 30 minimum power. And then the lines per inch I like to set at 300. That's the DPI, and then we will click OK. Now, I don't know if you know this trick or not, but in LightBurn, if you click the first one and you click the arrow here to the right, this copies all the stuff on that layer. Click the next one and then paste it back on this one and paste it back on this one, and it sets all your settings for it just like the first one was. So that's really easy. So there's that. I'm going to go ahead and do a frame. Again, once you have it set up, if you want to do it from the center, which I have mine here, let me move this over so you can see it better here. There, it's here. And I'm going to click frame so that I know exactly where my rotary is going to be, and you can be able to watch it here. It's hard to tell it's spinning because it's all black. Okay, looks good. And I should go back to the center, right back to where I had that mark. Okay, good. So don't forget to turn your air assist on. Don't forget to have your vent on. All that good stuff. Again, I have my machine open as a precaution. Don't have yours open. I only have mine open for this demonstration purposes here. And I'm going to go ahead and click start. Now, if you notice, I forgot to make it so it all one layer so that it'll run all at one time. So unfortunately, it's going to move the roller back and forth 3 times. So let's go ahead and let it finish and see how it goes. All right, let's see what we got here. Move this out of the way. So we got, now of course we got to clean that all off, but didn't come out too bad. I got a little imperfection there. So let's go ahead and clean this off. Okay, so as you can see, it came out pretty good. There's a little imperfection here, but I don't like how it's not shining real good here, and some other. I think I'm burning too hot. So it looks like I'm going to have another scrap piece here, but I'm going to go ahead and burn it again, and I'm going to do all one layer this time. So let's go ahead and burn it again. So I marked what I want as a center on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and line that up. And turn my red dot on here. Everything lined up. And then what we're going to do is come over here to LightBurn. We're going to select everything. And we're going to put it on layer number 2. So it is one layer. So that it's just going to go, you know, all one piece, one thing there. So it is all. And if you right click and you go to preview, you can also see how it's going to burn. As you can see, it's going to do all at one time. So that's what I wanted really originally, and I had it separated last time. But anyway, I think it burned too hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this down to 25 and see if that gets me a little bit better. I think it's just a little bit too hot. So I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to do a frame, make sure it comes right back where I want it. Okay, looks good. All right, so let's go ahead and turn the air assist back on. And let's run it again. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and clean this one off. Turn this off. This one's much better. No messed up O this time. Looks good. Let me clean it off. We'll be right back. Alright, as you can see, this one come out much better. I went ahead and used alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and cleaned it down pretty good. Usually I use a one of the magic eraser sponges, and they work pretty good too, but this one come off good. The other side, I think this one was burning too hot. You could tell because there's darker marks in it here. So I lessened the power a little bit, and it came out good. Came out perfect, actually. Really good. So there you go. And yeah, don't forget to get a practice tumbler, one that you can, dial in your settings and get everything straight. And, unfortunately, all the different cups are different settings. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And happy carving.
Jungle.